Overnight, the price of gold reached an unprecedented historical high. The international gold price broke through $4,000 per ounce, setting a new record in human financial history. Many people say this is the market seeking refuge, but from what exactly is the world seeking refuge? The answer lies in the three major events that occurred in the past. The first one, gold prices have seen the most vigorous rise in nearly half a century. Over the past 2 years, the price of gold has soared by approximately 70%, and this year's increase has exceeded 50%. This is the most aggressive rally since the oil crisis in 1979. Even more astonishingly, it took less than 3 years for the price of gold to surge from $2,000 to $4,000. The second incident, Russia's sudden leak. At the Eastern Economic Forum, a senior advisor to Putin publicly accused the United States of attempting to devalue up to $37 trillion of national debt to zero through cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. The third point, global central banks' frenzied gold hoarding sets a record. Global central banks have been net purchasers of gold for 14 consecutive quarters. In the past 3 years, their annual gold purchases have all exceeded 1,000 tons, which is twice the average of the previous decade. China has been increasing its holdings for 11 consecutive months. Poland purchased 67 tons in the first half of the year. Even central banks in many African countries are snapping up gold bars. More importantly, the total value of gold reserves held by global central banks has risen to $4.5 trillion, the first time in 29 years that it has surpassed the value of U.S. Treasury bonds they hold. Put these three things together, and you will find that the sharp rise in gold prices is not merely driven by simple risk aversion, but rather a deep-seated game involving the credit of the global monetary system. To understand this game, we must first recognize a fact. When dealing with the debt crisis, the United States has never resorted to really repaying the debt, but has always sought ways to make the debt disappear. Historically, the United States has employed the same playbook 3 times. The first time, 1946 to 1951. After World War II, the U.S. debt-to-GDP ratio reached 106%. The government neither raised taxes nor significantly cut spending, but instead directly created inflation. Within 5 years, prices rose by 35%, and the debt-to-GDP ratio rapidly dropped below 60%. This means the debt figure remained unchanged, but through printing money and inflation, all those holding U.S. dollars shared the loss of purchasing power. The second time, in the 1970s, Nixon announced the decoupling of the U.S. dollar from gold, and the Bretton Woods system collapsed. Subsequently, inflation soared to double digits. In 1980, prices rose by 13.5%. The wealth of ordinary people shrank, but the actual value of the U.S. government's debt was significantly diluted, equivalent to shifting the debt repayment pressure to the entire population as an inflation tax. The third time, after the 2020 pandemic, the Federal Reserve once again embarked on a frenzied money printing spree, with the national debt surging from $23 trillion to $37.8 trillion. Despite the soaring debt figures, the actual repayment burden was quietly hedged through inflation and the depreciation of the U.S. dollar. 3 harvests, all with the same approach: printing money, creating inflation, and the world footing the bill. But now this trick is getting less and less effective. Why? Because the world has seen through the U.S. playbook. Central banks around the world have begun to reduce their holdings of U.S. treasuries and increase their gold reserves. The marginal effect of traditional inflationary measures is diminishing. The U.S. urgently needs a more covert new tool, and this new tool is very likely to be stablecoins,